If you're a business owner and you think your website is fine, this video is specifically for you because usually fine is exactly the problem. I've audited dozens of B2B websites over the last few years, and I'm not talking about running it from some sort of SEO tool and just calling it a day. I'm talking about reading it cold, like a buyer who's just landed on your website, has lots of different competitors opened, has a child crying on the background, and is deciding in about 8 seconds. And after viewing hundreds of the websites, the problem is usually in one crucial element. The crucial bit that I'm talking about here is called copy, and usually this is something that a lot of people tend to ignore and they jump directly to designing stuff. Especially I see it a lot with the design agencies where instead of bringing something that actually going to bring value to their clients, they purely focus on the visual side of things. Because why? Because they want to sell a good picture, because usually they charge a lot, and the easiest way to show something and to kind of justify the value is show something beautiful. But we are talking business here, and we are not talking about making things just beautiful. So let me walk you through the 3 key points that make a good copy and the things that I usually see a lot of B2B websites neglecting. First is when your copy is too technical. In other words, when you're trying to use the vocabulary only a small group of people would understand. And you might be saying that, well, our ICP knows that, and if they don't know it, then well, they are not our ICP. But come on, there is a majority of people who aren't supposed to know the jargon, to know that there is a problem that exists in their industry and they want to solve it. So my advice would always be, if you're writing your copy, keep in mind 2 things, or like try to keep in mind at least those 2 things and 2 rules. First, when you're writing it, always think that you're writing it for a person who doesn't know nothing, not only about the product, but about the industry in general. And second bit would be to write it as if you are writing it to a 10-year-old. Those are like 2 key things that I always focus when I write the website copy. And to demonstrate that even better, let's just look into some examples here. So first, instead of saying our platform leverages AI-driven automation to optimize multi-channel data pipeline orchestration, and to be fair, I see it more often than you'd imagine. Instead of using the words such as AI-driven automation, multi-channel data pipeline orchestration, where these jargons already, half of them would be misunderstood by so many people, what we could say instead is connect your tools, automate your reporting, and stop wasting hours on data you should already have. So if you compare those 2 together, you'll see that in the first one, at least for myself, there were already 3 points that I need to, well, at least think about before I process. Whereas in the second one, the words and vocabulary that is used is not only it's simple, it's also quite easy to understand, so you don't need to second guess what somebody is trying to say here. Then another example would be, instead of saying utilize an end-to-end encrypted microservice-based architecture to ensure seamless API integrations across your existing, shut up, that already sounds so complicated. I even struggle to read that. Again, the words such as end-to-end encrypted microservice architecture, API integrations, tech stack, like there's already too many stuff that might be complicated to people. So instead, what you can say is works with the tools you already use, set up in under 10 minutes, no engineering help needed. So again, you are very specific, you're very clear, vocabulary is simple. So something that you'll tell it to somebody is the best way to approach it, rather than trying to come up with words that nobody understands other than you. And then let's look at the last example, which is another words that I'm fucking annoyed to read. Proprietary NLP models deliver contextual sentiment analysis across structured and unstructured data sources in real time. And just keep in mind that those things, I have taken it from real websites. So it's not just I coming up randomly for the sake of the video. This is the examples that actually some of the websites are using. And that put me off straight away. I was like, what the fuck? So instead of using, again, this vocabulary such as proprietary NLP models or sentiment analysis, what we could use is know exactly how customers feel about your product without reading hundreds of reviews manually. Again, sounds way easier, right? Of course. So again, just always, please always keep in mind that people who are reading your copy aren't supposed to be technical as yourself. And then it will help you to write a better one. Second one is when your copy is too vague. Well, in other words, when you're trying to use a bunch of words that could have 1,000 different interpretations about them. And usually, I guess, you're trying to use them just to be more, or to sound more ambitious, aspirational, big. And of course, there is like this list of the words, it's quite infinite, but here are some of the words that will guarantee that you will sound very generic and very vague and abstract. So words such as smarter, better, faster, seamless, powerful, next level, innovative, and what else? Cutting edge. So again, and the main reason for that is because, for example, let's take the word smarter. So the word smarter can be used in or interpreted in so many meanings. In simple terms, again, let's say, oh, this person is smart. When we say the person is smart, there could be so many things that the person can be smart at. Is the person smart at maths? Is the person smart in economics? Is the person generally critically thinking smart? So it is the word that could be described in so many meanings. So the same way when you're writing the copy on a website, when you're using these words, you're not being too precise with what you're trying to offer or talk about. And because of that, people doesn't feel that connection, or they don't understand what you're trying to portray on a website. And so that leads to a point where people either just leave your website, or when they go on a sales call, they have so many questions because you did not answer them. They were so abstract. And again, as before, let's look at the example so you understand it better. So again, instead of saying, and I see it so many times, it's not just one case scenario, so many times. Instead of saying the smarter way to grow your business, and again, when you say the smarter way, again, it could be portrayed in so many ways. In which way you talk about growing your business, in which smart way. Is it smart way in a sense of you're automating something? Is it a smart way in terms of hiring someone? Is it a smart way in terms of seeing some data that your competitors don't see? There's so many smart ways, and what is that you offer? So what you could say is help your sales team close more deals with automated follow-ups and deal tracking in one place. So instead of just saying the smart way, what you explain in the smart way is helping sales team close more deals. So that's the smart way, helping sales teams close more deals. It's not automation, it's not some back-end analysis of your competitors, it's actually improving your sales department. Another example, the all-in-one platform for modern teams. Again, all-in-one platform for modern teams. What is the modern team? What we're trying to say here. So instead, what you could say is one place for your design, dev, and marketing teams to manage projects, share assets, and ship without the back and forth. So the things that describe the modern team, you put them here, that is attached to what you're offering. And the last one, instead of saying powerful solutions for growing companies, again, powerful solutions, what are those powerful solutions? We say helps B2B sales teams of 10 to 50 people track pipeline, forecast revenue, and reduce deals lost to no follow-up. So again, instead of saying powerful solutions, we actually explain what those powerful solutions are and being direct with people. And the third one would be when you're trying to write a copy and you talk only about your product. And the main reason I put it as a third one is because it's not like a deal breaker. So the first two that I mentioned, in 99.9%, they're like the biggest deal breakers. And if people don't understand your product clear enough and the product is too vague, they'll leave. But in here, this is kind of the things that you could improve to take it to the next level. So instead of trying to talk about your product, which again, I understand you have the product and you want to talk about its features, it's fine. But the thing is, when people are looking for something, for a solution to that problem, they're not interested in a product. They're actually interested in how this product solves certain problems that they encounter in a day-to-day life. So when you are trying to talk about the features, you kind of neglect these parts about how it solves their problems. And again, as I mentioned before, it's not a big deal breaker because still people might still be interested in the features because it describes the product, but you might miss certain percent of people who might not still understand how your product solves their problem, and they would leave because not everybody understands how something can solve their problem in relation to it. And when you just talk about the product, you miss this portion of people who might not be as convinced as it is. So that's why always ask yourself what job to be done it is for people. And job to be done is, again, what problem people are hiring your product to do its job. And let's again move to the examples. So instead of saying our platform includes customizable dashboards, 200 plus integrations, role-based access controls, automated reporting, and multi-workspace support, what you could say is, again, lead from a problem or solution perspective. Stop switching between 5 tools to get a status update. See everything your team is working on, who's blocked and what's at risk in one view. So in here, when you try to talk like that, you already put, like when people read it, they'll already feel that pain because they've struggled with it, they had it, and they can now project how your product solves their pain instead of just listing the features that you've got. Then another example would be, instead of saying our mission is to revolutionize the way business handle their finances through cutting-edge technology and world-class support, what you could say is always know where your cash stands, track expenses, forecast runway, and close your books in hours, not days. So again, even though in the beginning we may be focusing on the features, we also tie it to the last part, which is close your books in hours, not days. Because, for example, in a day-to-day life, they have a struggle that they are booking those meetings in quite long cycle. And in here you say that you can book it in hours. And again, there's a fine line between how you use it. For example, again, as I said, as you saw here, we actually used some feature listings here, like truck expenses, forecast runway. And again, it's fine if you mix it together with the problem or solution. So it's not like you always need to focus on the solution. Like in the first example, sometimes you just simply cannot focus on just solutions. So you need to just bring a little bit of features. So just try to always find the balance and try to at least bring some solution or some problem into the equation. Well, by equation, I mean the text. And the last would be, instead of saying we've been building software for over 10 years, a passionate team of 50+ engineers and designers is dedicated to delivering the best experience possible, what you could say is, stop losing deals because your team is working from outdated information. Get everyone aligned on the same data in real time. So again, you talk about the fact that stop losing deals because your team is working from outdated information. Again, this is the problem that person who's hiring your product to solve for them is thinking about. They are tired of losing deals because their team is working based on outdated information. And what it would help them is it would help them to get aligned. So again, two parts, problem, solution. So again, as you saw in 3 examples, you can mix those. In the first example, we purely focused on solution. In the second example, we focused on both bringing the features and solutions. And on the third one, we focus on bringing the problem and solution. And there you have it. And again, just to be clear, those examples that are shown, they're just the universal examples that you can use in the website communication. So it could be your headline on the hero section, it could be the subheadline, it could be the section on your about page. So in general, just keep in mind that this is just a general communicational points that would help your users to make a decision towards your product, so they can be used universally throughout the whole website. And if you still struggle to identify those problems, and if you want to know how the copy works on your website, there is a link in the description where you can submit your website. I'll just need your email and the link to your website, and I can record a 15-minute Loom and send it directly to your email with the findings of how you can potentially improve the copy on your website. Cheers there, bye-bye.